Hi everybody, this is Shawna Odette from the Flying Cat Academy. Welcome to lesson number 48. In this lesson we will introduce the student to the sounds of the suffix ed. Let's begin by setting up the table. You'll need your top 160 sight word list, the sight word study method instruction sheet, the student's card pack of sight words, some blank cards for introducing new sight words, a highlighter, markers, and some pencils. For the short vowel drill, you'll need the teacher instruction sheet, the 5 keyword pictures, and the keyword sentence. Moving on to the phonemic awareness drill, you will need to have the teacher instruction sheet, and you'll have to have the colored tiles for the student. Then we'll have the visual drill and the auditory drill, and you'll need the student's card pack for that one. Then we'll have the syllable card drill with all of the syllable cards cut out and arranged on the table ready to go, with syllable 1 on the left, the middle syllable in the middle, and the syllable 3 on the right. Then we'll have the magnetic letter tile drills for reading and spelling, with the cookie sheet with magnetic letter tiles spread in a rainbow shape. We'll have the syllable pounding drill instruction sheet, and the new phoneme grapheme kinesthetic discovery instruction sheet, and then the sheets for the lesson. Today that will include the scooping syllable worksheets, a chart for working on suffix endings, and the other sheets, which are our usual sheets, the individual word list, story, and sentences for writing. We'll also have a drill because in the new content part of the lesson, we're introducing the sounds of ed. So you'll have to cut that one out. Finally, you might have a timer on the table, and you'll need this if you've introduced the fluency piece. If you'd like to learn more about how and when to do this, then refer to lesson 33 where I discuss it at the start of the lesson. Hi there, student. You can take out your card pack for your sight words. You'll read through your pack, and when you get a word correct, you will put a check mark in the corner of the card. Then hand the card pack to your teacher, and it's your teacher's turn to read. Your teacher will read through each card, and you will write down the word. When you have written a word correctly, then in the other corner of the card, you can put a check mark. When you're finished, you can have a quick discussion with your teacher about which of those words has been mastered. If a word is mastered, you can remove it from the card pack. Your teacher's keeping an eye on the time, and if there's time, that will be the time when you introduce a new sight word. Let's do the short vowel drill. Student, can you take out your keyword pictures and your keyword sentence? You'll take 2 fingers and trace the target shape, apple, and then underline it and say ah. Do this as many times as your teacher deems necessary, and then read your target sentence, your keyword sentence, stretching out the vowel sounds as you do it. Let's do the phonemic awareness drill. Student, you're going to need your colored tiles for this one. Your word is hop. Can you repeat that word? I might say the bunny likes to hop. Okay, I would like you to build the word hop with your colored tiles. And then tap it and say it. Okay, do you have 3 tiles, all different colors? If you do, that's right. Find the h in hop. Change the h into a n. What's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you get nop? If you did, that's right. Not a real word. Let's turn it into a real word. Find the n in nop and change the n into a k. What's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you get cop? If you did, that's right. A cop is another word for a policeman. Take a new tile, new color, and call it ol. Put the ol right after the k in cop and tap it and say it. Did you get clop? Clip clop went the horse's hooves. If you did, that's right. Now find the ah in clop and change it to an eh. What's your new word? Did you say clep? If you did, that's right. Not a word that I know. Find the eh in clep and let's turn it into a real word. Change the eh into an ah. And what's your new word? Did you get clap? If you did, that's right. And take a new color. Call it Put it right before the P in clap. And what's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you get clamp? If you did, that's right. Great job. You can put your tiles away. Let's do the visual drill. You'll need your card pack for this one. Teacher flashes a card and the student says the sound. What's the sound of this one? Did you say oh? If you did, that's right. Great work. Teacher, you can do about 6 to 8 flashcards and then come back to me. Let's do the auditory drill. We'll use the same card pack as we used in the visual drill. Student, your sound is S. Can you repeat that sound? Now, how would you write that sound, S? Think of all the different ways you know to write it. As you're writing them down, say the sound again, and then underline the sounds and say it a third time. Did you get CI as one way that you could write it? If you did, that's right. You could also say SI as another way to write that one. C is softened by an E, I, or Y when the vowel follows it. Okay, teacher, you can do about 6 to 8 flashcards and then come back to me. Now it's time for the syllable card drill. Your teacher has this one cut out and ready for you. It's all on the table there. You'll see there's 3 columns of syllables. Read down each column, starting with column 1 on the left, then read the middle column, and then read the one on the right, and then read across each row, making nonsense words as you go. Then it's time to unscramble the syllables so you can create some real words. As you're unscrambling things, discuss the words that you're creating. You'll read the whole word and discuss its meaning, and even put some of them into sentences. Let's do some syllable pounding. I'm going to say a word, and I'd like you to tell me how many syllables are in the word. You can also, the other step is we want to have a multisensory element to this, so you can tap your arm, and as you say the word, you will pound out each of the syllables that you hear, or you could put your hand under your chin and count them this way. So if it was Shawna, Shawna, my chin hits my hand twice when I say that word, so I know there's 2 syllables in it. Okay, so your first one is snap. How many syllables do you hear in snap? Repeat the word and either pound it or feel your jaw drop. Did you get 1? That's what I got. I hear that ah sound in snap, so I know there's 1. Try this one. Snapdragon. How many syllables? Did you say 3? If you did, that's right. Snapdragon. Yep. How about this one? Dragon. Did you get 2? I hear the ah in drag and the ah in on. Here's another one. Penmanship. Can you repeat that word? Pound it out. Did you get 3? Penmanship. If you did, that's right. Great work. Let's practice dividing syllables on paper. You'll need your syllable sheet. That's a scooping syllable worksheet for this one. And you'll also want to get out your rules for how to scoop syllables. With those 2 things, plus your teacher to guide you, you can choose a few words that you'd like to scoop. And teacher, you're keeping an eye on the time, so there might only be time to do 1 or 2, you'll know. We've been discussing the 1-1-1 rule in our previous lessons. The 1-1-1 rule is a rule for closed syllables. You can take out your rule card for this one, and let's review it right now. So let's say that I have a base, and my base is M-A-T. Can you tap that one out and say it? We have at, mat. And I would like to turn this word into matting, so I'm going to add an ending. This ending is called a suffix ending, and it starts with the vowel I. So let's see if we can apply the 1-1-1 rule to this. Is mat 1 syllable? Yes, it is. Does it have 1 short vowel? Yes, it does. Does it end with only 1 consonant? That's true. And I ask myself, does this ending, this suffix, start with a vowel? Well, all of that is true. So if I want to spell matting, I'm going to add the double T. And that's how the 1-1-1 rule works. Practice the 1-1-1 rule. You can complete a few words on this chart. Your teacher's keeping an eye on the time, so your teacher will tell you how many words can get written. You won't be able to do all those words. So I have this word matting, and I might say, my cat's fur is matting. I better get the brush out. That means that it's happening right now. So these endings, these suffix endings, often tell us a time. Something is happening now or it's happening in the past. And if I want to say that something is happening in the past, I would use a different suffix ending. For that one, I would use ed. So even, doesn't matter if I'm using ing or ed, you can see that it's still going to be matted because this is the ending, ed, and the ending begins with a vowel. So I have to apply that 1-1-1 rule. Now, how would you read this word? Would you read it as mat-ed or mat-id? Say the word right now. How'd you do it? Well, I think that when I say it, matted, my cat's fur was matted. I think that I'm actually making it sound like an I when I say that rather than an E. You might say mat-ed, but I actually say I. So what I have to know is that even if I hear the I sound, the way that we write ed is always ed. There are actually 4 different sounds that you can hear for ed, but we're always going to write it as ed. Let's say that I've got a word like hop, and I want to add ed. So I could say the bunny will hop into the field, or I could say that it already happened. The bunny hopped into the field. If I want to spell this, then I'm going to apply the 1-1-1 rule. Is it one syllable in the base? Yes. One short vowel followed by only one consonant, babysitter? Yes. Okay. Then I ask, does my suffix, my ending, begin with a vowel? Well, all those things are true. So because of that, I have to double the P. Now, when I say this word, listen really carefully. Hopped. The bunny hopped. Now you try it. Say the word hopped. How does the ed sound in the word hopped? Do you notice that it doesn't sound like ed? We don't say hop-ed. Doesn't sound like id. We don't say hop-id. We say hopped. So the sound that's coming out there is a t sound. So we have to know that even though we hear the sound t, we're going to write the suffix ending ed. This is the ending. So now we know it can sound like ed, ed. It could sound like id, id. Or it might sound like t. But no matter what, if we're trying to put something in the past, we're going to write ed. There is a 4th way that this can sound. Say I've got a base, which would be the word sun. And I would like to say, I sunned myself on the deck. So I'm going to apply my 1-1-1 rule. Is sun one syllable? Yes, it is. Is there one short vowel followed by only one babysitter? Yes. Does the ending start with the vowel? Yes, it does. So I know I have to apply the 1-1-1 rule and add the double N. Now, how is this going to sound? Let's say it. Sunned. What does the ed sound like now? Sunned. It actually is making the sound of D. So now you know there are 4 ways that ed can sound. Can we say them all? It could sound like ed, ed. It could sound like id. It could sound like t. Or it could sound like d. So how do you know what it's going to sound like when you're just reading a word? Like what do you know what to expect? Like, are you going to read it as ed, id, or t? Well, there is a way to tell. So if the base ends in a motor off sound, for example, p, can you make that sound p? It's motor off. There's no vibration here. So I'm just going to keep the motor off and I'll use the motor off sound, which is t. And so that was hopped. Do you see here how that's the t sound? So in sund, we had that d sound. N is a motor on. So we're just going to keep the motor on. We'll use motor on sound of d. So that's how you know if it's going to be t or d. How do you know if it'll sound like ed or id? Well, it'll sound like ed or id if a second syllable is added when you add ed. Let's try that one. Rent. Can you say that word? I had to pay the rent. Now, when we add ed to that word, say rented. Do you see how it created a second syllable? And we know that in a syllable, because of this definition of syllable, a syllable is a word or part of a word with one vowel pattern. Well, we had to add a vowel in there because a second syllable was created. Whether it sounds like ed or id, you are going to write it ed. Whether it sounds like d or t, you're going to write it as ed. We have a little drill on the table all ready to go, and you're going to get a chance to practice both the doubling rule and the sounds of ed. Here's the drill. You'll have the 3 cards for the 3 sounds, and you're going to begin by tapping a card and reading the word kiss. And I want to add ed to the base kiss. So I have to be thinking about what are the different sounds that it could make. So I'm going to say kissed. What sound is the ed making in that one? Kissed. Which one do you think? Say it out loud. And I'm going to move the card to where I think it should be. I hear that S is a motor off, and there's no second syllable created, so it's going to make the t sound. Kissed. And it does. Now I've got to think about, is this word spelled correctly? So I put the ed beside it, and I think, okay, it's one syllable with one short vowel, but there are 2 S's in that word already. It's got 2 babysitters. So I do not have to add any of the cards that are at the bottom there to this word. It is spelled correctly. And then I'd read the whole word, kissed, and I'd get ready for my next word. Let's do the magnetic letter tile drill for a reading. You'll need your cookie sheet with your letter tile spread in a rainbow shape for this one. Your sound is h. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Your next sound is Can you repeat that sound? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. The next sound is g. Can you repeat that sound? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. The last sound is d. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile or tiles and pull them to the middle. Now we want to be able to see this word in parts. So first tap it and say it. And now think, what is the base of this word? Did you say hug? If you did, that's right. Now, the last sound that we heard in hug was hugged was d. There is a suffix ending that can sound like d. So did you write the suffix as ed? If you did, that's correct. This is a tricky part of spelling because you'll hear that d sound and just want to pull down the d, but we have to think about what is the purpose. And the purpose is to put this word in the past. And we do that by adding ed because that's the suffix ending. And now we want to apply any spelling rules that need to get applied. So you have the base, hug, and you're trying to add the suffix ed, and that suffix begins with the vowel e. What do you have to do? Did you double the G? So H-U-G-G-E-D? If you did, that's right. Great work. You can put your tiles away and get ready for your next word. Your sound is Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Your next sound is Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Your next sound is Can you repeat that sound? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. The other sound is T. Can you repeat that? And find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. And your last sound is id. Can you find the tiles for id and pull them to the middle? Okay, tap it and say it. Okay, and then think about the spelling rules that need to get applied. Did you spell it R-E-N-T-E-D and say it as rented? Even though we hear it as id, we know that ed has 4 sounds. It could sound like d, t, ed, or id. In this case, it's sounding like id, so you'll still write it as ed. And did you need to double the T in rent when you added the suffix ed? The answer is no, because we already have 2 consonants at the end of that base. So 2 consonants are good. We don't need any more. Okay, teacher, if there's time, you could do another word. And if not, you can have the student read the single word list. The student can read the short story. And finally, if there's a fluency piece that's been added, that's when it'll happen. So you might have the secondary program. If you'd like to learn more about this, go to lesson 33. And at the start, I discuss when you should add fluency. Do the magnetic letter tile drill for spelling. You'll need your magnetic letter tile board with your letters in a rainbow shape for this one. Let's see. Your word is trap. Can you repeat that word? Okay, I might say I was caught in a trap. What's the first sound that you hear in trap? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in trap? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in trap? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. And what's the last sound that you hear in trap? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Now tap it and say it. Did you spell it T-R-A-P? If you did, that's correct. Keep those tiles where they are. And I would like you to turn the word trap. Let's say that you did some trapping in the past. I could say I trapped on my trap line. Okay, so if I was going to do that one, I would have to add the suffix to this one. So turn trap into trapped. Trapped. Okay, grab the tiles that you need for that and pull them down and add them to trap. Okay, and now apply any spelling rules that need to get applied. And tap it and say it. Did you spell this one T-R-A-P-P-I-N-G? Oh, sorry. Did you spell this one T-R-A-P-P-E-D? If you did, that's right. So even though you hear trapped, you hear that t sound, we're going to write it as ed because we're putting something in the past. And ed is allowed to sound like d, t, id, or ed. And did you double the P? If you did, that's right, because that follows the 1-1-1 rule. Okay, teacher, you can do another word in this way if you'd like, or else we'll just move right on to writing some single words. Student, you'll need your lined paper and a pencil for this, and you're going to tap out the word after I say it. So I'll say, for example, cap. Oh, actually, no, let's not do that one. Let's do band. Can you repeat that word? I could say I played a guitar in a band. Okay, and I'd like you to tap out the sounds in band, or you could trace them and say them as you're doing it. That's your choice. And then you'll grab the whole word and say the whole word and then write it down. Okay, and check your work. Did you spell it B-A-N-D? If you did, that's right. So let's turn band into banded. They banded together as a group. How would you change band into banded? Okay. Did you write it as B-A-N-D-E-D? If you did, that's right. Let's try this one. Rubbed. I could say, I rubbed my arm. Okay, tap it and say the sounds. And then write it down and be thinking about the spelling rules that get applied. Rubbed. Okay, teacher checks the work and you guys can discuss the spelling rules that came into play there. And teacher, you can use some more words in this way, having the student write down single words, or if there's no time permitting, you can move right on to the sentences. You'll read all 3 sentences and let the student choose the 2 that will be written. After the student writes a sentence, they will check their work with chops. Let's do a quick review before you go. We've been talking about the different sounds of ED. And no matter which of the sounds it's making, how we're still going to write it as ED. So we learned that ED could make ed, or when we're saying it, we might say it as id. Sometimes it just sounds like t in a word like hop. If I add ed to hop, it'll come out as hopped. And sometimes it's just going to sound like d, and that would be rammed. But no matter what it sounds like, id, ed, or d, we're still going to write it as ed. Great job today. That's the end of lesson 44. This is Shawna Odette from the Flying Cat Academy.